안녕하세요, Cloud입니다. Hey guys, Cloud here. Today's lesson is all about turning verbs into nouns, so let's get right into it. This lesson is divided into two parts. So part 1, changing verbs to nouns using ki. So just like we learned in the previous lessons, how to change verbs into nouns using the 능꽃 principle, we'll be doing the same thing, but using ki. While 능꽃 and ki do the same thing, they aren't used the same. Ki is often used with very specific verbs, like for example, 시작하다. So if I wanted to say to start learning, it would be 배우기 시작하다. Now, if I wanted to put it in the middle of a sentence, I could say like, I'll start to learn Korean next month. I could say 다음 달에 한국어를 배우기 시작할 거야. So there's that construct being used there. Another example would be 이상한 행동을 한 다음에 사람들이 저를 쳐다보기 시작했어요. So after doing something strange or acting strangely, people started to stare at me. So again, this is to show that with 시작하다, they started to do something. Now, for talking about stopping something, so 그만하다, the 능꽃 principle is more commonly used. So if I want to take that sentence 다음 달에 한국어를 배우기 시작할 거야 and change it to 그만할 거야, I would actually use the 능꽃 principle. So 다음 달에 한국어를 배우는 것을 그만할 거야. Next month I'll stop learning Korean. ki is also used with 싫다. This is a way you say that you don't like something, you don't want to do something. So one thing you'll hear very often, or you'll see written very often is 일하기 싫어, 일하기 싫어, which means I just don't want to work. Or 가기 싫어, I don't want to go. Because of the usefulness of ki, some words have ki embedded into them, especially when in writing. So for example, 쓰기, writing. 듣기, listening. You can talk about these when talking about your writing and listening skills. Ki is also used when making lists. So when you have a to-do list and you're writing down the things that you're going to do, you might say like, oh, today, like the things I need to do is eat, 밥 먹기, practice Korean, 한국어 연습하기, do homework every day, 숙제를 매일 하기. So it's used when making lists. You get the point. One more use of ki is in buttons. So a lot of people switch their phones to Korean, the language on their phones to Korean, to help with their learning. And they'll notice that the buttons will a lot of times end in ki. So like sometimes a pop-up will open, making sure do you actually want to open this and you want to click open, you'll click on 열기, which is just 열다, but with the ki principle. So to sum up, there are 5 things we talked about where ki is used. So just any old noun, any old verb turn into noun. So 달리기, running, the act of running. It's put before 시작하다, so 먹기 시작했다, before I ate. It's also put before 싫다, so 먹기 싫어, I don't want to eat. For making lists, 쌀을 사기, make sure to buy rice. And on buttons, so the send button, 보내기, from 보내다. Part 2, changing verbs and adjectives to nouns using the mium or So this is another way to do the exact same thing, but again, it's used in a different situation. It's used with a lot of words to make the noun versions of them. So for example, 싸우다, which means to fight, if I wanted to just talk about a fight that happened, not fighting, the verb, it would be 싸움. If I wanted to say, oh, I had a dream, or I dreamt, the act of dreaming is 꾸다. Now, if I want to talk about a specific dream, like this is my dream, I could say 꿈, a dream. Same thing with death. 죽다 is to die. 죽음 is death. Also, there's another one that I'm sure a lot of you know. You probably heard it at least, but didn't realize it was just a verb turned into a noun. So the verb is 느끼다, to feel. And the noun is 느낌, a feeling. I didn't know this word was just a nominalized or a verb turned into a noun. I thought 느낌 was a completely different word. I never made that connection until I read this lesson. So now you can take these nouns and you can use them in a sentence wherever you want, just like you do any other sentence. So for example, 나는 용이랑 싸움에서 이겼어요, or 이겼어. Well, for me, it would probably be 졌어, but just for the sake of the sentence, I won in a fight with my brother. Now, you do have to worry about irregulars with this conjugation, but it's not that complicated. It's the same irregulars as before. There's a table in the lesson, the full lesson online, that you can refer back to if you have any doubts. That's it for this lesson. There's a Korean street sign explanation talking about ki, so make sure to check that out. I will leave a link in the description below.